Hi, I'm just another artist and I just finished watching Haspin Hotel. And as much as I loved it as a whole, I do have to admit the bad writing of women. It's supposed to be female story oriented, and it doesn't feel like that at all. Sure, Charlie is the main character, she's a girl, and she was written by a woman. So it's great, right? Just because Charlie was written by a woman, it doesn't make her automatically a great character, you know? It's just something totally different, okay? I know it's a bit confusing sometimes, but it is what it is, you know?
It is what it is.
Exactly. Your favorite Has-Been Hotel character is Alistair or Angel Dust? Maybe Husk or my dear Sapenchas? Nifty and sometimes Charlie or Baggy. It has gotten to the point where Charlie doesn't even seem like the main character to outsiders. Like, if I ask my mom, hey, who do you think is the main character here? Maybe by design she might say Charlie, but like, probably not. Alistair, just everyone sticks out in a very different way, which is great, but then again, if you don't make your main character stand out in any other way, then it's not really a main character, you know. If Charlie is your favorite, please speak up, because you're either non existent or legit just too soft spoken to make yourself known. I don't know, maybe you'll have a secret society where you cry all day and cuddle with each other, and maybe say words of reassurance to each other. Or just summon the devil, I don't know. Just don't spend 50k on an animation, please. Also, just so you know, today's video will be separated, not within the video itself, but today we are going to explore a certain part, which will be part 1, Helva main character, which is Blitzo. It kind of fluctuates from Blitzo and Moxie, but like, usually it's more on the Blitzo side, so I'll be using Blitzo as the example of the main character of Hell of a Boss. And then I'll be comparing Blitzo with Charlie, who is basically just a Haspin Hotel main character. We'll be comparing them in terms of characterization, character development, relationships, and the way the viewer perceives them. Let's think together, okay? Okay, good. Think of Blitzo. Got it? Now, write down what you know of him. Or just take a mental note if you're just as lazy as me. I understand, okay? Now let's do the same with Charlie. Personally, this is what I got. Blitzo, an asshole, complicated, has serious trust issues, genuinely loves his daughter, envies a lot his co-worker's relationship on a borderline stalker level, puts a strong facade most of the time, is very insecure. Whenever someone gets too close, he just pushes them away, because he's afraid of intimacy and commitment. Especially commitment. He really likes horses, like it's fetishy even. Has a very filthy mouth, has a bad temper, isn't good at dealing with receiving affection. Really loves his sister, even though she doesn't like him because of something unexplained to the viewer. Was a clown when younger, has a lot of issues with his past. Daddy issues it seems to, since his daddy literally went, oh yeah, what do you have in your pocket for my son? $2 and, is that chewed gum? Yeah, sure, that's enough. Mind you, this is all from the top of my head, so if this isn't 100% accurate, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure it is. Now for Charlie. She's a sweetheart, someone who sees the good in everyone, tries to stay positive even though she's very insecure, believes in her friends with her whole heart, hates heaven and its extermination policy, has daddy issues that were mentioned twice before the Lucifer episode, more on that later. She had an emo phase, etc. So, this was more or less in the same time period. However, it was much harder to just not search for synonyms for nice. Now, don't get me wrong, she does have her flaws, but it gets increasingly harder to ignore the lack of foundation of those or the abruptness of its introduction. She's all over the place at some point, even more than Baggy, which is saying a lot. You can clearly see the difference in terms of who is easy to characterize to know as a person in the universe, as both have incredibly strong personalities. But only Blitzo gets to actually show it. Even when thinking of who changed more, you can clearly and confidently say with your full chest that it was Blitzo. Even though Charlie went through 2 exterminations, one just finished at the start of episode 1, and another one that we saw from start to end on episode 8. Those exterminations were 6 months apart, and she barely changed. She did seem to get more uncertain of her capacities, which is a great conflict to tackle on the series. However, people aren't portraying her as less certain of herself, of her talent to sing her heart out. Instead, they praise her for having so much potential. Like, bitch, where? Don't hype her up if all she's gonna do is get her ass kicked. After a cool transformation, of course. We can't miss that. It's so infuriating to see one thing and being told the very opposite. It doesn't work. And she's not the only character who suffers from this problem. More on that on the next video of side characters. Next week, remember! Let's also talk about how inconsistently Charlie perceives Alistair. Actually, how Alistair is portrayed to the viewer in general, but let's focus on Charlie's perspective. Charlie's trust in him is all over the place. At first, she acknowledges Alistair's simple motive for helping. He simply enjoyed seeing others fail miserably. So, she knows to beware of him. But she also cares about him, of course. She's way too kind not to. However, they barely interact after that. That is until the Lucifer episode, where suddenly she trusts him with her whole heart. She thinks he actually appreciates her and sees her as his own daughter that he spawned. Out of nowhere! Also, I really did like the spawn joke, because he's asexual and all that. I did think it was very funny. Just saying, I have to give it props where it deserves it, okay? It was so out of nowhere, I had to go back multiple times to that one episode to see if I missed anything. Because something as important as this cannot simply pop out of nowhere. That needs some build-up. Maybe show Alistair interacting kindly with Charlie on the background, or maybe show how he baked something just for her to gain her trust. Be it manipulative or genuine, I don't care. Just fucking decide already, will you? Just after that episode, where he supposedly is very proud of her and believes in her dreams, something that could be explored in a way to show how Charlie can be too kind and therefore sometimes naive, leading to consequences later in the series. Maybe it can actually harm her friends, and she has to deal with it in a way that it's like she's not guilty, but she will feel guilt. Explore that. That's such a good thing to explore. Or maybe a betrayal, Maybe Alistair can betray them and he hurts her. He hurts her friends. Or maybe he makes her trust him and makes a deal where she just goes like, oh, hey, yeah, I trust you, Alistair. I know you wouldn't do that to me. So, yeah, I know I'm your friend and you're my friend. Let's make a deal. That would have been so impactful. Imagine how Alistair would be if he actually got a deal with her by her trusting him. And he uses that. He uses that to make her hurt her friends. Imagine that. But no, they said, screw that. We want her to not trust him again. And sure enough, she goes back to saying he is there just to mock her and her dreams in one episode. And sure, by the end of episode 7, she seems to trust him again, but that doesn't explain what changed out of nowhere. Let's put this in perspective with Blitzo's relationship with Fizz. In season 1, episode 2, we're introduced to a robot version of Blitzo's old friend, Fizzaroli. This robot version is portrayed in an antagonistic way, even with the lightning emphasizing Blitzo's perception of Fizz. This is truly what he thinks of his relationship with Fizz. Just two old buddies who now hate each other's gut. And that's the impression the viewer gets of this new character too. He's just another one of Blitzo's many haters. If you're in hell, you're a Blitzo hater. There is no exception. Even his love interest is suffering with him. I'm sorry, but it seems to me like Blitzo might be the problem, just maybe. However, we get shown a bit more and more of what truly happened, how they were when they were in the circus together, how it was when they encountered each other at the house of Asmodeus. And finally, episode 6, season 2, where after exploring their dynamic throughout a season and a half, they get put into a situation where they have to work things out. and accidentally find common ground. They now see the misunderstanding, and it hurts. It hurts that they know how much the other is actually hurting. But it also hurts to try and make things better. After years of cultivating such deep hatred towards each other, they can't just act like nothing happened. So they don't. They hug. They communicate, as well as Blitzo will let them, and agree to let bygones be bygones, while also giving each other space to process. And it was such an emotional moment when Blitzo started crying, saying,
I did care! It was an accident, it was!
Especially how Blitzo says he's happy for Fizz. He's happy that his life got better, that he has someone who he loves and that loves him back, someone who understands him. Now, compare that to Charlie and Alistair. The way that Charlie changes the way she thinks of him, there was no build-up, no hints, not a single fucking drop of reason were put into this part. Also, the way they show her going badass a few times in the series, like when she was about to rip Valentino to shreds after seeing him abuse Angel, or when Adam said he'd go to the hotel first, and when the time finally comes, she gets beaten the living shit out of her. What was that about? She only brought a shield to battle, which fits her character, as she's less of an offensive type of character, and she's more on the protective side. She could simply protect her friends. However, that was not the case. She simply did some firework magic to scare off a few angels, and she didn't even protect the others. She protected herself, and she did it poorly too. Vaggie protected her. There was a scene like that. In all the other scenes, she's basically just kind of using the shield, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't want to get hurt. All of that while her friends are fighting for their lives. Her friends are getting hurt, her hotel getting damaged. She saw all of that and still didn't fight, even when she thought that Alistair had died. Wasn't he really important to her now? She had to wait until Serpentius died for her to get angry enough to have a badass transformation. Razzle and Dazzle looked so fucking badass. And then having Vaggie and Charlie flying them? Look, I loved it. I loved it. I really, really loved it, okay? Too bad it only took 2 seconds of badassery before they killed off Dazzle. I mean, what even was the point of all of this? Loot versus Baggy was really cool, and I really, really wanted to see it. But at least give the dragons a chance to show off before showing us Charlie being manhandled by Adam again. Oh, but she did stab him. Sure, that was so cool. Too bad she goes back to being useless right after. Also, that was all just so she could deliver the amazing phrase. I will say that it's amazing because it is amazing.
That's Princess of Hell to you, pig!
It was a great line. But no matter how cool the phrase is, it doesn't hit the same as soon as, she goes, "It's Princess of Hell to you," and kaboom, she's back to being manhandled. So it doesn't really hit, How come she's so powerful and yet she doesn't use her powers at all? If it was shown before that she couldn't use them for some reason, or that she was too afraid of using them, maybe she never really used them because she believes in true kindness and thinks that having said powers would make sinners only validate her because of how strong she is. But no, we have absolutely no explanation. She just decides to get kicked around, I guess. Have her friends die and her hotel completely destroyed. What other reason does this show give us? Is she a masochist? Okay, I'm really sorry for the rant about the finale. But I'm so angry at how good it is even though they did Charlie so dirty and she's the main character. I really loved Charlie as a character and I wanted to see more of her. Please, come on, Vivziepop, please. Remember, Vivziepop herself said that Hazbin Hotel is more focused on the female characters, but she doesn't get enough character development. Or she just jumps from arc to arc without really creating a story, and none of the arcs get finished. Just a big amount of good moments that work amazingly separately. But together they just kind of look like a mess. And if Vivziepop used the excuse of Help the Boss is male storytelling oriented to not write to Luna and Millie better, then she should 100% treat Alistair and Angel Dust the same. Even though I really don't want that, just so you know, I really do love them, so if you could develop them a little bit more, I would appreciate it, but still, Charlie is the main character! And Vaggie has been suffering ever since day one, so please, someone give her a bit of development. So here's the summary that I said that I'd give you at the beginning of the video. So, okay. At the end of both shows, you can understand Blitzo's internal conflict. You feel it when he feels it. You can relate to him. You can empathize with him. Meanwhile, Charlie stays mostly the same, and you can feel the awkwardness and the want to be good enough, but you can't really resonate as well with her character. For that, you'd have to choose a specific episode to identify with that specific Charlie, since she seems like a different character with different motivations and relationships each single episode. And it gets a little bit confusing, you know, so yeah. Thank you so much for being here till the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Remember, I will be posting my next video next week on part 2 of the same topic, where I'll be discussing all those things that I discussed here, but instead of being with Blitzo and Charlie, I will be doing it with the side characters, or the rest of the cast, you know. I'd really appreciate it if you gave a like in this video, you know, and maybe subscribe. I am also open to criticism, so if you have any advice, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here. Bye bye. See you next time, hopefully.